So when I say the name Nobel, what's the first thing that pops into your head? It's probably this, right? The Nobel Prize. It's the absolute gold standard for human achievement in science, literature, and peace. But the real story of how this incredible award even exists? Well, that's a story you probably never heard. But what if I told you that the pristine, almost sacred legacy of the Nobel Prize is completely tangled up with the gritty, chaotic, and wildly profitable world of 19th century oil? I mean, how on earth does the world's highest honor for peace have anything to do with this scene of raw industrial power? All right, let's get into it. And there it is, the big clue. And it's coming straight from the Nobel Family Society itself. See, we all know Alfred Nobel as the guy who invented dynamite. But a huge chunk of his fortune, the very money that still funds the prizes to this day, didn't come from dynamite at all. It came from an oil empire. So how in the world did that happen? It's this incredible global story of risk, of family, of pure innovation. But it all started with something surprisingly ordinary. It didn't kick off with a search for oil. Nope, it started with a military contract for rifles. Okay, so picture this. The mission seems simple enough. Robert Nobel has to find enough good walnut wood for 500,000 rifle stocks for the Russian army. So in 1873, he heads out to what is now Azerbaijan. But the whole trip is a bust. He can't find the wood he needs. But then, he stumbles into the wild, messy, chaotic beginnings of the Baku oil rush. And in that moment, everything changes. He pivots. He realizes the real treasure here isn't in the trees. It's deep underground. He was absolutely convinced this was it. So what does he do? He gets word to his brother Ludvig, who's this big industrialist, borrows 25,000 rubles, and heads straight back to Baku. And that relatively small loan was the seed capital for what would grow into one of the biggest oil companies on the entire planet. But this wasn't just a solo act. The secret to their unbelievable success was the unique and, perfectly complementary genius of three brothers: Robert, Ludwig, and of course, the man we all know, Alfred. And what's so amazing is just how perfectly their skills fit together. You had Robert, the creator. He was the boots on the ground, the guy who saw the potential and took that first big risk. Then you had Ludwig, the entrepreneur, a total industrial mastermind who knew exactly how to build and organize a massive company. And Alfred, he was the financier. He was kind of like their business angel, with the capital and the connections to just pour gasoline on the fire. Having the creator, the entrepreneur, and the financier all in one family, how could they lose? So the brothers get to Baku, and the oil industry they find is, it's a disaster. It's primitive. It's incredibly wasteful. It's just a mess. They quickly realized they couldn't just join this industry. They were going to have to reinvent it completely from the ground up. Just look at this transformation. Before the Nobels showed up, oil was literally being carried around in buckets from hand-dug wells and hauled by camels. It was pure chaos. The Nobels brought in advanced drilling, systematic refining for consistent quality, and, this is the big one, they totally revolutionized logistics with pipelines, tankers, and railways. They built a fully integrated, modern system where absolutely nothing existed before. They were so smart. They zeroed in on the real bottleneck. It wasn't getting the oil out of the ground, it was moving it and refining it. So what did they do? They built the region's first successful pipeline. They commissioned the world's first oil tanker ship, a totally radical idea for the time. They built a massive fleet of railway cars and a whole network of storage depots. They basically solved the entire logistics puzzle. So what they built wasn't just a company. It was a complete modern innovation system for oil. They controlled literally every single step, from the well in Baku all the way to the final customer in Europe. That level of integration, nobody had ever done anything like that before. Okay, so the brothers built this incredibly innovative and ridiculously profitable oil empire. But how does all that industrial fortune circle back to the Nobel Prize? Let's connect the final dots. In 1879, they made it official. They founded the Nobel Brothers Oil Production Company, or just Branobel for short. And this company became the engine that printed their money. And the scale of their success? It's just staggering. By the turn of the 20th century, the Baku oil fields, with Branobel right at the center of it all, were producing 50% of the entire world's oil supply. half of all the oil on Earth. And you can literally see that explosion of growth right here. They start with 3 million rubles in 79, and just 3 years later, it's already at 10 million. And it just keeps going up. What you're looking at is a tidal wave of profit flowing straight into the pockets of the Nobel brothers, Alfred included. And here it is. This is the punchline to the entire story. When Alfred Nobel died, he left a fortune of 31 million Swedish kroner to set up his famous prizes. And a huge portion of that money, it didn't come from dynamite. It came directly from his shares in Branobel, the oil company that was born from a failed hunt for wood in the forests of Azerbaijan. So the world's most famous award for peace and human progress was funded in large part by the black gold of the Industrial Revolution. It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? And it kind of leaves you with a question. What are the booming industries and the revolutionary technologies of our time? And what unexpected, maybe even world-changing legacies might they be funding completely by accident 100 years from now?